Hello, Mallards, it's Monday, and yes, my entire Fringe review set is going to come from my gallery wall instead of the Fringe one, because I largely saw shows at Savoy, which is far away from Visual Fringe tonight, and the one show I did see on main campus was in Green, so I also wasn't at the Shakes, only at the Rep. And as a result, I did not get out to the Visual Fringe wall to choose art for these shows, so we're just going to tell you about the shows. This evening, I saw 4 Fringe shows. The first show is called Breakfast with Andy, and this was a mystery. The premise of the show was it's these 2 friends who meet up for breakfast at a cafe, and there has been a murder in Andy's building, a murder he seems to know an awful lot about. And it was a well-acted piece, and it's definitely a mystery, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but Jack, who plays the waitress, was doing the absolute most in this entire show, and she did such a good job. What a great performance from her. And that was at Savoy. It was an interesting premise and kind of a fun, spooky vibe and some cool sound effects. The second show I went to see was the complete works of Stephen Sondheim, Abridged, by the same group of people who did The Spider Queen, which I absolutely adored. This show was really, really clever. They had parodies of Sondheim songs. They went through the plots of most of the Sondheim shows and gave explanations of things. I will say, as somebody who doesn't know a lot of Sondheim musicals, nor a lot about Stephen Sondheim as a person, a lot of the jokes did go over my head, but I sat next to Megan, who knows a lot more than I do, and she thought the show was absolutely hilarious. And I think if you know Sondheim shows, this show is like peak. You should definitely be checking it out. And if you don't know any of that, you're still going to have a pretty good time because it is very well performed and cleverly done. And I still had a very, very enjoyable time, even if sometimes I was not in on the jokes. The third show we saw was the highlight of my evening, and that is Paul Strickland's Untroubador, which is one of Paul's classic one-man storytelling shows. But this one might be my favorite because of the way that he weaves the entire show together. It's just beautifully crafted from start to finish to create a really nice feeling, and it really all fits together so well. And it's funny, there's good music, you will laugh an awful lot. There are jokes that I heard as part of this, a couple of which I'm going to steal. One of my personal favorites was he's talking about somebody's great-grandfather, as in better than the other 3 grandfathers, which I thought was so freaking funny. Just clever. There's a lot of clever stuff in that show. And Paul in general is such a phenomenal performer that I cannot recommend that one enough. Also out in Savoy, Stephen Sondheim was in Green. And then the fourth show I saw was Lotus, the story of a late bloomer, which was also out at the Savoy. This is a one-man show that is essentially the performer's life story, and it is an incredibly vulnerable performance. To lay out everything there on stage is really, really impressive. I will say, the show began and I was like, oh no, it is going to be a poetical sort of modern dance kind of thing that I'm not going to understand. And also, it's an 11 p.m. show, and if he keeps stirring the stick around that singing bowl, I'm going to go to sleep. But the show takes a pretty big turn very quickly and becomes a almost comedic retelling of his life using children's toys as stand-ins for all the people, objects, interactions, and everything that he has encountered in his life. And I thought it was very cleverly done and very fascinating to watch and heartfelt and also still funny. but I was really impressed by how that show all pulled together. So I saw 4 real fun shows today, and you guys should check them out too. Links down there for tickets. And I will be back at Fringe tomorrow, and that means you will too. I'll see you then.